Hey there, this is episode 61 of the Rugged Angel Cast. I am your host, Camila. So, by now, you probably know there are two different ways to listen to this show. You can either listen on WMCK.FM, internet radio, where you will get music that goes along with the podcast, or you will just get the straight podcast that you can get from Libsyn or iTunes, however, you pick up your podcast um, goodies or whatnot. But yeah, so if you're listening on WMCK.FM, the new shows air on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. They repeat on Thursday at 5 p.m. and then again on Monday at 1 p.m. You can listen on your computer or on your phone or your tablet or however. There's an app that works with both Android and Apple. So just go to WMCK.FM and get that and more information. And there's plenty of other radio shows and talk shows and musical programming that's going on that station as well. It's not just me. So just if you're in Pittsburgh, it's really helpful to support local radio and local talent and just people that are out there trying to do some good. We're just trying to get our words out there to the public. So yeah, but like I said, if you don't care about the music portion, you just want the podcast straight up, you can go on to iTunes and Libsyn and look up Rugged Angel Productions. Rugged Angel is one word. And also, while you're doing that, while you're looking for me, you can like Rugged Angel Productions on Facebook, and you can follow me on Twitter at @the_Rugged Angel. Now, this week's conversation is with author and poet Yona Harvey, and I fangirl out a bit because Yona is one of the new writers for the new World of Wakanda series under Marvel. Now, this series is a spin-off of the popular new Black Panther series. So I am so excited to read this. It comes out in November this week. I think the actual books come out, and so you guys should be looking for that. Hop on Amazon or wherever you get your reading materials, or go to your local comic book store because those guys need love. And it's if you go to a local comic book store, you start to build a rapport, or even just like a local bookstore or whatever. You build a rapport with the people who work there, with the owners, and they start to know what you like, and they start to put stuff aside for you, and you get little surprises when you come back and like, hey, I thought you might like this, so check it out, you can buy it and whatnot. And yeah, so it's kind of like, you get some stuff curated, and those guys are cool. And speaking of comic book stores, Yona is going to be doing a book signing on November 9th at Phantom of the Attic if you're in Pittsburgh, in Oakland. So it's from 4 to 7 p.m. So you should really check that out. I will be there getting my geek on, getting my copy of World of Wakanda, and getting it signed because I like that sort of thing. It really makes me happy. I would be supporting a local author. I will be supporting a local comic book store, as well as the continuance of the importance of Black powerful images in media. So it's a threefer, I think is what I got there, what I got going on there. So make sure to check her out. The rest of the conversation is just about, Yona's life and how she got to where she is, and just the usual chit chat about things that just come up in conversation. So also happening in Pittsburgh, another geekerific thing. I guess there's actually two more things. There is a Klingon tour. Now, yeah, I know. So the Office of Public Art is doing a walking art tour, public art tour downtown and on the north side on November 4th and November 5th. Now, usually they do these bilingual tours, sometimes in Spanish, sometimes, in other languages and stuff. But this time it's going to be Klingon. So yeah. And we've been working, I keep saying I work for the Office of Public Art. So we've been working with Andrew Schill Miller, and he's been working with Mark Orkland, I believe that's how you say his last name, the creator of the Klingon language, in making 40 brand new Klingon words for this tour specifically. So this is something that you really want to see if you are a Trekkie, if you like languages, if you like art. I mean, this is going to be a fun time. So you can go to the Office of Public Art's website. You can go to the Facebook page and check out more information, ticket information. It's $10 beforehand, $20 if you walk up. And there are four different tours happening on November 4th. There's one at noon, that's downtown. And there's also one at 4 p.m., that's on the north side. And then again on November 5th, again, one at noon, and then another at 4 p.m. on the north side. So check that out. Office of Public Art on Facebook. All the information is there. And coinciding with that will be Wizard World. Um, yeah, Wizard World Pittsburgh, Comic Con. It's where all the geeks come out to play. And I am no exception to that. I will be on two separate panels at Wizard World, one on Saturday for the Whedonverse discussion about gender roles, and then there'll be one on Sunday about strong female characters in sci-fi and fantasy. So please, if you're going to Wizard World, come by and check me out. There's information on my Facebook page of Rugged Angel Productions. So yeah, Saturday and Sunday, if you're hanging out at Wizard World, please come by and say hello. Okay, so before we get into the show, here are your words of wisdom for the week. Always help someone. You might be the only one that does. Yona Harvey, welcome to the Rugged Angel Cast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. I know you have most very recently become an extremely busy lady. I'm sure you were very busy before.
Yes. Just like to do things the hard way, apparently.
How's your day going so far?
So far, so good. Meetings, parenting, all that good stuff.
How many children do you have?
Two.
Okay.
Two teenagers.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. But one is away on a field trip, a 4-day field trip. So
Okay.
that's kind of like,
Little
okay.
reprieve,
Right.
just a little bit.
Exactly.
And usually days are filled with toting them to and from practices and clubs and
Yes. All that kind of
obligations
stuff.
and all
the
that
little
jazz.
domestic crises that arise.
Are you from Pittsburgh originally?
No. I'm originally from Southern Ohio,
Oh, really?
Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also from Ohio.
Oh yeah, I think I knew this.
Toodly-doo. From Toledo, Ohio, a little further north.
See, we have that connection.
Exactly, the OH10.
That's right.
Who brought you to Pittsburgh?
Love, jobs. Yeah.
So did you go to college here or?
I didn't. I went to college as an undergraduate at Howard University, and then the short version is I moved to Pittsburgh from New Orleans.
Okay.
About 16 years ago now.
Okay.
Because my husband at the time got a job at Carnegie Mellon.
Gotcha.
So.
And you just came along because that's what you had to do at
the
time. Yeah,
it was a good move. It turned out to be a good move. It was hard to leave New Orleans. It's a bit of a culture shock.
I would imagine. I've never been to New Orleans, but I'm like, what were one of the what I would imagine would be like, I don't know, like the food scene for one.
For sure. Yeah, food, kind of laid back, Southern hospitality type thing.
Right.
Like all those kind of little hidden truths and the cliches.
Yeah.
That part, and then definitely like a drop in the Black population.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Especially coming from Cincinnati and Howard University and,
That's
New
right.
Orleans,
That's
Nolans.
Right. Yeah.
It was, I've only been to Cincinnati a couple times. That's a little more Southern.
It is.
Feel
It's true. A lot of times people don't make that connection, but yeah, we're right there on the Kentucky border.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, what was your experience like at the UBC?
It was pretty magical.
Yeah.
I think I needed it. I needed that space a lot because my parents bought a house in suburban Cincinnati. So I spent the school year there, and I would typically spend the summers in the city with one of two grandmothers. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was very, very glad to go to Howard in DC and just be more independent. My parents were more conservative, religious. And I mean, there's good things about that for sure.
Right.
But I was glad to have that sort of freedom.
Yeah, it's something that everybody needs, obviously. And yeah, and I think most of you know, us black black women particularly, we were definitely brought up in a more Christian
Right.
religious household. And yes, and that's not a bad thing, and a little more conservative household, because I got to tell you, it kept me from doing a lot of stupid things.
Right. It's true.
But
See, this is that Ohio connection. Yeah.
exactly. But on the flip side, there was also a lot of things that I was scared to venture off to and to try until I
Right.
moved out of mom's house, until I
Yes.
got here and
Yes.
just like was able to spread my wings a little bit more.
Absolutely. That was very true at Howard. And I felt like there was a lot more freedom in terms of identity, like
Hmm.
who I could be.
Hmm.
So you're in this all black space and you could be nerdy, you could be crunchy, you could be conservative or geeky or wild. There were just black faces on a lot of personalities. Where, when I grew up in Ohio, it was very limited. It was like sort
Right.
of just don't do what white people do.
Exactly. Yes, I absolutely get
And
that. And then
that is very problematic.
yeah, that's kind of what my experience was like growing up. It's like, you're black, so you should be acting this way.
Right.
You don't do X, Y, and Z, and this is what you do. Um, but yeah, I never actually thought about that. But that's a glorious thing to be able to grow up in that real delicate time of your life of graduating into adulthood and being able to find your identity and whatnot, and being able to feel so free to do it
Yes.
among your people.
Yeah, it's
You're
true.
like, we're not. It's like you're not just the black girl. Like you
Right.
can blossom out into whatever suits your fancy.
So true. I mean, wow, it has had lifelong benefits for sure.
Now, what did you study?
Well, I went there on a nursing scholarship, which is
Really?
hilarious. Yeah. And that lasted all of one academic year because I found myself like missing classes. I just was not a good student because I couldn't come to terms with the fact that I did not want to be a nurse.
What took you to that to be to nursing to
Um,
begin with?
I had an aunt who I really love,
Mhm.
who was a nurse
Okay.
and a nursing instructor, administrator, and it was very Midwestern to be like,
Mm,
oh, this is a secure job, it's going to pay well,
right.
you
And you do
know.
see a lot of black women in the
Exactly,
caretaking professions.
exactly. But I do things the hard way. If I had just owned up to liking writing from the beginning, I'm
Hmm.
sure I still could have gone to Howard with that major.
Hmm.
I just had no perception or idea that anyone could write in any kind of way, like, and make a living at it. So nursing was like, okay, this is solid. I got this scholarship to the nursing school,
Hmm.
and that'll be cool. And then I just found myself at poetry readings and writing groups and every place but the lab. And that was a problem. So,
So you came to terms with it, and then you
yeah,
were like, okay, so now.
it was crazy. I switched my major. My father was furious
Mm,
because he was terrified about how it would pay for it because I had to give up my scholarship.
oh yeah.
And so, what did I do after that? I like, I wrote this letter to the dean of
Oh.
arts and sciences, and I was like, hey, I'm out here. I'm trying to be a young poet or writer, something like that. And I
Mm,
was like, everywhere I go, I'm talking about Howard. And, is there any way I can get some financial aid or something,
mm,
right?
mm.
I don't know. I worded it that way, some kind of way like that. And then I didn't hear anything. And then in my sophomore year, this money just appeared in my account.
Wow.
And that is how I was able to stay. But the dean, no one ever wrote me. No one ever said, hey, great letter.
Right.
Here's your money.
It was
But
just like boom.
I was like, okay, great. I'll take it.
For real. Look at God. Like,
Somebody was listening.
yeah, absolutely. Wow, that is
It's
beautiful.
crazy.
That's
And I
amazing.
never that did that kind of stuff. But I felt sort of desperate. I think I felt bad too for my father. Like I needed to show him that I didn't like take for granted
Hmm.
his sacrifice. Neither of my parents went to college. So I felt like, man, I got to do something to show them that I'm serious and
And that was the first time that writing actually paid the bills for
right
you.
word. You got that right. Whoa.
So when did you so you said that you've always had the passion for writing and poetry.
Mm,
So it
yeah.
was just kind of like from a very young age that when did you first discover that
Mm,
this is my thing, or was it just always there and
I
you
think
just
it really was always there. Like, I had very literary or language conscious teachers in elementary school. I
Mhm,
liked reading. I loved books, the library. I had a black woman librarian. I think that, I mean, at the time, I wouldn't have known. I don't think it registered with me as a kid,
mhm,
but she was just someone who I trusted. She would do these great like book talks,
mhm,
and so there was that. And then I had teachers who would let me just read these stories that I made up.
mhm.
Like in 3rd grade, 4th grade, I had a teacher. I like wrote this whole story about running against Ronald Reagan and I was insulting him. It was
Wow, in
interesting, like
third
to
grade
be
you said?
politically minded. Like
Right.
I didn't even politics were not even discussed. My parents did not talk about that around me, so I can't even tell you
Word picked it
where that
up.
came from. But I was getting like high fives, like, "Yay, good story." So I think that had an effect on me. But still, I didn't think I was gonna be a writer.
Yeah.
I was just it was like, "Oh, this is fun. I'm getting a little bit of attention.
Mhm.
I'm telling some stories." But
Right.
I never thought all the way through 12th grade that, "Oh, right, I should major in English."
Well, it's still, like a that's as you mentioned, like from our generation, that's just parents, I would imagine, were very nervous for their
Yes,
children to
oh
be like,
god.
yes, I want to do something in the arts.
Right.
and
Right.
and them knowing that, oh my God, like there's no backup plan really financially
Mhm.
so for my child. So it's like I need you to do something that we know for a fact you can go get a job.
Exactly. That's that it was kind of an unspoken spoken
Right.
thing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's nice. You can do your writing, or you can do you can make your little movies or whatnot, but
Right.
I'm gonna need you to get a real education.
That's exactly how it was.
Well, luckily, I mean, it all seemed to work out well for you to go ahead and
Yeah,
get your another scholarship of sorts
right.
at Howard,
It
and
did. I learned I had to get my hustle on. I had
yeah,
to work, you know,
hmm
all through school, but it was good. It turned out to be really a good mission.
hmm
I had some buddies who started a comic book company and
really,
I was like very serious about writing. So there was that. I had a friend, Kemp Powers, who was like very influential, very serious. I was not mature enough even to keep up with him, but he would do freelance work
hmm
even at that time and he had these great internships at the Smithsonian.
wow,
And so um that's how I was like able to become a cashier at the Air and Space Museum. I had
okay,
that job and then later I worked at the Phillips collection.
oh man,
Just I had these creative ways to make money and be
hmm
around the things that I liked. So I was like, okay, sure, college kid, be a cashier, but cashier at the Smithsonian or
yes,
in the Phillips collection.
that's awesome.
So discount postcards, learning all the art. That's where I first saw Jacob Lawrence. And I mean, just a lot of good serendipitous artistic things
hmm
happened.
Did you perform a lot in like live poetry readings or?
I didn't. I would be there.
hmm
I would go to those events, but I didn't. I think I was too shy.
Hmm.
I would read every now and then, but we definitely had like stars.
hmm
Even Ta-Nehisi Coates, back
hmm
then he was a very good poet. Um and he would be like a regular on that scene,
Okay.
and then a lot of other friends we had in common. Joel Diaz Porter, who's actually from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He was like a big mentor for us,
Wow.
and he went by the name DJ Renegade, and he
hmm
was like really big on the spoken word scene, slam scene, and so freaking smart. So yeah.
And when did you publish your first? Was it the book of poetry that you published first, or was there a
Um,
fictional?
well, my first official book is a book of poetry.
Okay.
Yeah. But as a kid, it's ironic. The first poem I published was in my friend's comic book.
Okay.
So who knew that would kind of
It came
come full
right
circle.
back around.
Yeah. And then, Howard had a literary magazine,
Mm,
Janus, and I had poems in there. But that was typical. I wasn't unique in that way. Like a lot of great writers on campus,
hmm
published poems or stories
Right.
in there.
Were you mentioned the comic book store? Is that were you a comic book reader, comic book geek?
I was late to that game.
hmm
It happened when I met these friends, Kemp Powers and Douglas Kearney, who's a poet, a
mm
very great poet. He lives in LA. So we all met at Howard, and they were reading Spawn
Okay.
on Image, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna read that." And they were reading The Dark Knight, and so
hmm
it was just stuff.
Right.
My friends did it, and so I was like, "Okay, I'll read it too." And so that was how it got started.
That was your intro to
Yeah,
that world. Was it something that kind of carried along, or just like you kind of pop in every now and again?
it just popping in.
Yeah.
So comics are great for motherhood. I
Yeah.
mean, it's great. So even in Pittsburgh, I would go to the comic book store. I just naturally gravitated there, and then I would get like different graphic novels and
Mhm.
just whatever. I would just anything that I could find, I would pick up
Your boys must
and
love
read.
you.
So so I get a lot of cool points with my
Absolutely.
so but who knew? No one cared. No, it wasn't even anything that I talked about with anyone. I didn't feel, I mean, I know there were people around, but just in my circle,
Mhm.
poets can be real kind of single-minded and focused on
Mhm.
poetry, and they didn't talk about comics. It
Mhm.
wasn't that I was withholding, it just never came up.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I could see that. I've the few poets that I do know. Yeah, you guys are a little.
it's like
It's like this is just kind of here.
right.
I guess.
Yeah, I think it's changing a little bit now, but back then, like I'm then as in like 10, 15 years ago, I
Mhm.
did not feel like I had people to talk about comics with. And then later I met Yona Harvey, who's a poet, and she was the only one. So sometimes I would see her. She lived in Brooklyn. She still lives in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
And she would recommend things for me. She's the only other poet
Huh.
really I knew other than Doug Kearney who would talk about comics.
Okay.
So
So what the big thing is that like your newest biggest venture right now
uh-oh.
is that you are now entering into the world of Marvel,
Yeah.
and you are now part of the team to write for the World of Wakanda.
Right.
How like isn't that just like I mean I don't understand how you're sitting here so calm.
I
You're
did
just
all the
like
cartwheels
right,
earlier.
right? Because I mean you found this was official like in summer,
Yeah.
correct? And
Yeah.
you're yeah, okay. So how did this
It's
come
so
to be?
it's so unreal. I mean, it's like something that you wished for, but it was so seemingly maybe unattainable
Mhm.
or that it wasn't even formulated as a wish.
Right.
So that's what I'm always working through. Like it's even now, I still feel like, huh, okay,
Look at that.
yeah.
And you're working with Roxanne Gay.
Well, it's interesting. We're in contact, but
Mhm.
we're not actually working on the same storyline.
Okay.
So, Ta-Nehisi Coates is the person we have in common.
Mhm.
So she's co-writing a story with him, and then I'm co-writing a story
Okay.
with him. So every now and then, like earlier this summer, and I guess that would still be summer slash autumn,
Mhm.
I could email them and like have a freak out moment about like, oh, question. But that was kind of the extent of it in terms of Roxanne and I.
Okay.
So
How familiar with the source material were you beforehand? Now this is a spinoff of
Right.
Black Panther.
That's right. So I had been keeping up, so that
Mhm.
was easy. I
Mhm.
was familiar in that way. Of course, I was reading it because Ta-Nehisi was writing this run of it,
Right.
so that was no problem.
Mhm.
But then when I started to think about bringing in or thinking about, like, the whole Marvel universe,
Yeah.
that's when I started to have, like, kind of a panic attack.
It's a big thing.
It
Like,
is. So I
and
was like, "I don't," I love what I know, but I don't know everything.
right.
Not like your average Marvel fan.
Right.
So I was saying to Ta-Nehisi up front, like, is this the type of thing where I'm gonna have to like be quoting issues and
right.
volume and 19 whatever whatever in
Right.
order to do this? And he was like, no, it's really not that type of situation. So I was like, okay.
Because I could see that being very seemingly overwhelming.
It is. It's still, yeah.
Just me trying to wrap my brain around how the movies connect with
Right.
each other, that in itself. So I could only
Right.
imagine.
Right.
So, but luckily, you just have to. It's kind of on its own world, and
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about what Iron Man is over here doing or what
It's
Captain
true.
America until that moment comes.
Right. That's
Okay.
right. And then so I'm writing for Zenzi, who's like an adversary of Black Panther,
Mhm.
but she doesn't have a long history. Like Ta-Nehisi created her in his run.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
there's a lot of
perfect.
freedom there.
Yeah,
Like,
perfect.
oh, great. So that also relieved me of a lot of pressure or fear that might screw something up,
yeah.
you know?
So, I mean, are you ready to be like this idol of millions of children and
Oh
comic
my
book geeks
God.
and blurs and black girl nerds and
I guess I have no choice, but I feel really honored. You know, um, I went and visited Chatham Universities. Chatham is like this university here in Pittsburgh. I don't know who's listening to this,
right,
but
yeah.
and so they're women's studies students and they're Black Student Union students, and hosted this event. And then they invited some high school students from Alderdice.
Mhm.
And it was just the sweetest thing. I think that's when it really started to hit home for me how important this is for young Black women
Right.
readers. I was like, man, they were so excited. I mean, that's an understatement. I don't
I'm
even,
sure like
I
there was just
mean,
chills and geek.
they were glowing and they were so supportive. And some were like, I've never read a comic, but I can't wait to read this one.
Oh,
Or, I mean, it was really encouraging, and so that made me feel like, "Okay, yeah, no need to freak out, just
just do
tell
you.
a good story."
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you've been doing that for quite some time now, telling great stories and
trying. Yeah, that feels good.
yeah. And when does this one come out?
November 9th,
That's
so
right.
it's
And
right around the corner.
you have a signing coming up in Pittsburgh here at
Yeah,
Phantom of the Attic.
yeah, on
Is
the
that I
same
was saying?
day, 4 to 7.
That's amazing.
So,
Going
and
to make sure to be there and pick up
yay!
a copy.
And those guys are great. Wayne Wise is
Mhm.
really fantastic. I mean, even when I was just anonymous Black woman in the comic store,
Mhm.
it was always a very welcoming space. I could they've like really watched my son grow up
Oh.
in there. So we go in, we get our Walking Dead fix, and then I get, whatever graphic novels I'm getting over the
Mhm.
years, and they're just really cool about it. You know, I never had a feeling of like, oh, you can't come in here
Mhm.
or nothing like that. So,
That's great. What are some of your graphic novels that you read or have been reading over the past?
let's see. In the past, Aya of Gop City, which is just hilarious. It's
Gap
great.
City.
It's like based in the Ivory Coast, and you get sort of it's a great depiction of modern a modern African
Okay.
city. It's really, really good. It's
Hmm.
so funny. I first my daughter actually read that one first.
Mm.
And so that's good. La Perdita, Jessica Abel,
Mm.
Rachel Masalamani. She's a local Pittsburgh artist.
Okay.
RPM. Uh, so many over the
Mhm.
years, even like Ghost World and
Oh, yeah.
Blankets, you know.
Yeah, I'm extremely late to the whole graphic novel and comic book game. I never read them as growing up as a kid. Like the closest I got was maybe like Archie or Richie
Mhm.
Rich,
Mhm.
and but yeah, it was just something that's more recently. I think the Buffy comic was the Buffy graphic novel was the first one I read, and then
Okay.
and now I'm on to The Walking Dead, and I'm just kind of like, and it's it's just crazy because I haven't been this obsessed with a show since Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I
That's
don't
so
think like it's
funny.
just crazy to me how invested I am in this thing, and I don't like don't not usually gravitate towards the zombie movies or anything like that,
Okay.
but yeah, it's the I don't know, the writing is pretty immense. Would
Yeah.
you love to be a part of a movie, the writing of the film of this World of Wakanda if it becomes such?
That's such a funny question. It's a good question. I don't think about that at
Mm-hmm.
all. I feel like it's too nerdy for that, probably. I don't, why
How
am I
so?
saying that? Because I feel like that is, well, this has been fast paced,
Mm,
but that seems even faster.
yeah.
So I don't know. I
Well, I'm
wouldn't,
sure. I'll check back in after a
right.
year.
First of all, I don't think anybody's really thinking about me on that level. So that's funny. That's hilarious. It's funny just to like sit here like, you know, let me just stay in my lane. Yeah, that's
So
cute.
I mean, are you just like over the moon? I mean, this is just a couple like a week from now or a couple weeks from now
It's
before
crazy.
it's
Yes.
becoming just like it's there. And then you'll be probably going around a couple Comic Cons and
That
signing.
would be so fun. I can hang out. Yeah. Just get my
Yes,
geek on.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
what is the geekdom that you? What is? Where's your fandom lie?
It's exciting. Marvel has been very supportive. You
Mhm.
know, who would have thought? I mean, yeah.
Are they sending you all sorts of swag? Like, are,
They just, it's an
like I'm
interesting,
sure your kids will.
right? You get a lot of street cred or something, some kind of cred. Geek cred maybe is
Mhm,
better. Yeah.
mhm,
Very supportive though. Poetry can be so solitary. And
mhm.
I found this process is like, you get emails from the editor and, they have exclamation points.
In the subject line.
I'm like, wow, this is so good. I mean, they, but which is not to say that every idea that you send them, they're like, yay. Like when we first started, I had these ideas and it was like, nope, nope, nope,
Huh.
nope, nope. But yay, keep trying, let's, I
So
found that,
encouraging.
yeah, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is like a real collaboration
Okay.
happening
Will there be
here.
room for you to slide in any poetry
I feel
in
like
this
the
one?
way that I turn the pages or think about the panels
Mhm.
is very poetic. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Like I feel the skills that I have in poetry apply in comics in terms of space,
Okay.
not being too wordy,
Mhm.
focusing on image and character and story. So it
W-
comes in handy.
What is something you haven't done yet that you still want to do
In comics?
in life
In
in
life.
general? Mm.
Wow. Okay. You really went there. Um, hmm. I feel like on a large scale, I really want to have an impact on the mental health of Black women, women of color. And that just comes from my own sister's struggles with that.
Mhm.
So I feel, okay, how am I contributing to that issue,
Mhm.
solving that problem? Like being open about depression or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So that is a huge thing for me. Like that's constantly on my mind. So like through literature and art and then also just good old fashioned advocacy, life without metaphor. Like
Yeah.
what can families do to support their children?
So I guess, I mean, that
daughters.
kind of answers my next question was how do you self-care? Like, how do you?
Oh boy, I've been a much more upfront about it in the past few years. Like
Mhm,
really like putting boundaries in place and being comfortable saying no
mhm.
or yes to things, requests
Yeah,
and,
it becomes very important
mhm.
as time goes by, and the older I get, the more comfortable I become
Yeah.
in saying no,
This is good.
it's not
Right.
for me,
I,
which is great.
right. I don't think we are taught that as young women.
No, and there's also, we're always on that hustle, trying to
Mhm.
get the next thing, and so it's like, I can't afford to say no to
Right.
anything. I gotta. This
That's
is gonna
right.
be a learning process. It might lead to this, or it might lead to
That's
that, and
right.
so,
That's right.
but I think I've gotten to a place finally in my life where I'm just like, okay, I don't have to do everything. I can't do everything, and
Exactly.
that's okay.
I hear that. For real, for real. It's like, even breaking the habit of, oh, there's a little space in the schedule.
Hmm.
Leave the space.
Absolutely.
I don't need to fill it. Somebody text me, hey, you want to go have a drink or this? How about no?
No.
How about just honor that little space,
Exactly. I
you
have
know?
taken my shoes off, my bras off.
Right.
I need to sit
Mm-hmm.
down.
Exactly.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess now is the time for Yona's music block. If you're listening on WMCK.FM, then you get to hear these curated songs that I have asked Yona to give me her five favorite songs by female artists. And please feel free
Wow.
to go ahead and take that over.
This is so exciting. Whoever even asks anybody about this? I love you so
Oh,
much. Oh
thanks.
my God.
You're my favorite.
My Lord. Yeah, okay. So my top five, I think this is the order. Might not be the right order, but whatever. Top
It's fine.
five.
In no particular order.
In no particular order. There you go. Syllogism by Mary Lou Williams.
Mm.
Four Women by Nina Simone.
If you want to give any particular reason why, feel free.
Oh,
Mary Lou Williams, she's from Pittsburgh, correct?
yeah,
Yes.
she is. She is, yeah. She became well, she was like the little piano girl of East Liberty.
Hmm.
She's buried in the Catholic cemetery, right before you go over the bridge to Homestead.
Hmm. Okay.
Um,
Oh wow.
I just thought about, big on lyrics. I mean, syllogism is tricky because of clearly Mary Lou Williams was a, a pianist and a
Hmm.
composer, so there's no lyrics, but the sound. I was just thinking about what songs do I know like in half of a second as
Yeah.
soon as they come on, like, and definitely that's one of them. Like I can hear that song at the start of so many great things in my
Mm.
life. Writing sessions and
Okay.
walking around as a kid in DC, wasting time at Howard. I just hear there's just so much in her work.
Mhm.
She is like cool as hell. So that
Yeah.
that song is just wow.
I've heard some really great stories about her.
Whew.
About just speaking of hustling, how much of a hustler she was, as to where
Yeah.
she was playing in the boys' club basically for the
Basically,
longest time, and
yeah, all through.
yeah, just
All through the phases,
yeah,
eras of jazz. So,
carrying her records to gigs and here and there, and
I
selling her
mean,
stuff, and
she's the real deal.
yeah,
So, and then Four Women,
mm,
same thing. The lyrics, the politics, the feminism, the defiance in
hmm,
that. I just love strong women
that one just
artists.
yeah, that one just feels like that was my first introduction to Nina Simone. That
Okay.
song in itself was like,
Mhm.
wow, and I was just
Yeah.
immediately just like taken aback, and it still remains as my favorite Nina Simone song. But
Okay.
yeah,
See, I didn't even know that. It's such a good story
I
too.
know it's
Storytelling.
just the emotion
It's
and just
killer.
so much there. Yes. Mm.
Um, This Land Is Your Land. I love when people take something that's conventional or old and then just put this new twist on it, turn. So I love that. I mean, Sharon Jones's version of This Land Is Your Land is like, it's still patriotic, but it's like black people, oppressed people, like claiming the space
Mhm.
too, you know?
Okay.
And man, she can blow. Like,
Oh,
woo,
yeah.
the
Ooh.
roof just bounces off the house, you know?
Like,
Um,
"Oh, Sharon."
yeah. So, there's the parts that you recognize that you ease into, and
Mhm.
then there's like the little subtle changes in the lines.
Nice.
And that just kills me, you
I
know?
haven't heard that one yet. I have to listen to that one.
So good. And Little Green by Joni Mitchell. When I was late to the party with
Mm.
Joni Mitchell. I didn't really discover her music until a friend of mine I met in my MFA program in poetry made, that was back when we shared music more,
Oh, yeah.
when everything wasn't
Yeah.
like trapped in our little
I know. It was just
phones
you
and
gotta miss that time where people are like, "Oh my god, come over here. You gotta listen to this record," and we just sit
yeah,
and play a record or tape.
yeah.
But
Mm-mm-mm.
oh.
Shannon from Texas, where are you now? But she was like, she just thought that was blasphemy that I hadn't heard of Joni Mitchell.
Mhm.
So she actually bought me the CD Blue, which Little Green is
Nice.
on, and I was hooked. From then, it was all over. And again, like great storytelling. Um, yeah,
Yeah, she has a really,
about
and it's amazing how often she pops up on lists
oh,
of my
funny.
guests. So, and
I mean,
this is my like within the last year, this is like my have been my introduction to Joni Mitchell. Like I knew of
okay.
her, but just never really sat and appreciated.
Man, those lyrics are crazy. I mean, lyrics is an understatement. It's like it's a story. It's she can cram all these words into a tiny little space. It's crazy. Idiosyncratic.
It's definitely a talent that she has. She's definitely a gifted songwriter.
Yes. And Little Green is like, it's a really good story. Like having a baby and then having to give that baby up for adoption, like trying it for a while. It's really, ooh, it's
Whoa, I do not know
raw.
this
It's
song at all.
smart. It's
Wow.
really, really clever.
Hmm.
It's a good song. Heartbreaker.
Mm.
And then My Life, Erica Badu. Gotta have some
Of
Erica Badu in
course.
there. She's so
I
sassy.
do.
Yeah. It's like poking fun at the self, but the self, the body changing and getting older,
Mm,
but like this focus on cleverness. It's
yeah.
nothing like a clever sister.
Yes.
I just love that song. Yeah.
All right, great. So we are going to get into that. We're going to take a break and then we'll come back with questionable conversation. Okay, we are back with Miss Yona Harvey. And now it's time for questionable conversation where I just ask a bunch of random questions. Now, it's not a rapid fire sort of thing, so
Okay.
don't feel rushed.
All right, good.
All right. What album can you listen to from beginning to end?
Wow. Probably Sade, Love Deluxe.
Ooh, that's a good one. Do you prefer sunrises or sunsets?
Sunrises.
Your favorite word?
Wow. I don't know. Mm, I feel I'm embarrassing all the poets of the world
Ah,
right now. Oh my gosh. Mm.
not an easy question.
It's not. I can't believe that. You really stumped me on that one. Serendipitous?
Okay, that's it. I will accept that. And it doesn't need to be forever and ever. It could
Okay.
just be at this moment,
Yeah.
serendipitous.
Good.
Do you need to write things down to remember them?
Yes. And draw pictures.
Yeah, nice.
Mm-hmm.
So are you also a visual artist?
I feel I cannot claim that anymore. I'm so far from that. But yeah, it's something I would love to return to
Okay.
one day.
So many. All right. I love it. You've got so many layers. Um, what was your first job?
Burger flipper at rallies.
Your favorite song to sing?
Ooh, that's a good one. Hmm. Probably something pop, like
Mm.
silly things from my kids' playlists, radio. Yeah. Hmm.
Do you experience deja vu?
Not as often as you would think.
Hmm.
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Hmm. Invisibility.
Thank you. Nobody else ever like that is mine too. Invisibility, and my thing has always just been like because I can travel for free. Like I could get it to.
Right. Push comes to shove, I'll get there. But sneaking around?
There's also
Hmm.
that. I think it's just this because sometimes I try to just I'm such an introvert at times. It's like I just want to
Don't
disappear.
see me.
Like
Yeah.
just don't look at me. I'm
It's
not here.
true. Very true.
What is your favorite part of the human face and why?
Hmm. I think the eyes. Yeah, I feel that's how I connect with other people,
Okay.
you know?
Do you talk to yourself?
Yes. Ooh, much. I'm sorry, family and friends. So sorry.
Did you have posters on your wall as a teenager?
I did. I did. But not of celebrities, of clothes. I wanted for a long time to be a fashion designer.
Really?
So I would cut out pictures of clothes.
Huh.
hmm
So what happened to that dream?
Again, just something I didn't know how to do
Okay.
or pursue. It
That
just didn't seem practical for
didn't
me
seem
at the time.
feasible at the time. Yeah.
That was way before Project Runway and all that, too, you know?
I tell you, the generation today, this generation, like they have so many more. It's almost uh, gratuitous the amount of like options that they have.
It's true.
Just even the fact of I was doing a talk about podcasting to a Girl Scout troop,
Mm-hmm.
and
Cool.
one of them mentioned that she wanted to be a famous YouTuber. And it's
Wow.
like, what? And it's just like,
Oh,
you should,
sweetie.
you should, okay. What is your favorite holiday?
Hmm. Halloween.
Ooh,
Halloween.
it's coming up.
It
Are you
is.
dressing up or going anywhere or just
No,
giving
I
out
just like
candy?
to see the kids. I feel like I get to see my neighborhood,
Mm.
like, where are y'all all the rest of the time?
Right.
But it's like, oh, here they are. Here's Miss So-and-so's kids. I get to see everybody just in one night. It's
Are your
so
kids
sweet.
still young enough to trick or treat, or they're too old
They're
for it?
over it. They're way
So you just
over it.
give out the
hmm
candies. What are you giving out this
Good question. I
year?
don't know. I don't know.
We are very excited this year because this is the first year that I think we'll be able to give out candy. We lived in Wilkinsburg on a hill
Mm-hmm.
like for about 5 or 6 years.
Uh,
Kids never came.
ooh.
Like
Mm.
that first Halloween we were there, we were all prepped and ready, had all this candy, and not one child showed up. So for like 6 years we have not no, we don't know anything about trick or treaters. So this is our first year. So we're very
Congratulations.
excited.
Maybe I'll come over to your house.
Yeah, seriously, like we bought candy like way beforehand. I'm just like, I need options, and so there's
Uh,
candy, there's chips, there's pretzels, there's
That's
toys.
awesome.
So
You're so
I
prepared.
know I'm just happy that I managed not to eat the candy all this time. Um, can you do any accents?
Oh God, no. My kids are like, ooh, stop it. Stop it.
Do you remember your dreams?
No, not for the most part, no. I can manipulate it though.
Really?
Yeah.
So you get in there, you get in a place you don't like, and you change it up
See, now
real
I
quick.
sound like kooky. It's like, okay,
No.
we've been talking too long. You have made me too comfortable. Um, Fasting, not eating after 7, there are certain things that I can do,
Really?
and I that will facilitate the dreaming.
Not eating after 7.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It seems simple,
It's
but
such a challenge.
it's
I mean,
kinda
unless I would have to be going to bed at 7:30
right.
in order to make that
Right.
Um, outside of your family members, who is your oldest friend?
Oh, great question. Who would be who would that be at this point in my life? Holy smokes. Not counting my family.
Mhm.
I guess it would be my besties from college, Erica and
Nice.
Serge. Yeah. Mhm.
Nice. What's the last movie you saw?
Oh my lord. I don't get to the movies anymore.
Oh, I bet not.
Uh, no idea. That is really sad.
Oh,
I can't even tell you.
nothing on like Netflix or anything like that? No.
No, sad.
No, it's not because you're making a world. You are creating a world. Let me tell you. um, are you a good cook?
Yes, I'm gonna brag on that.
Nice.
I love cooking.
Yeah, are you more of a like? Is it more like old family recipes, or do you like to try new stuff, or are you like a foodie?
A lot of improv,
Hmm.
but I also like cookbooks. I like trying things. Uh, I love Edna Lewis's cookbook. She has a lot of like old Southern
Okay.
recipes, like the cakes, especially
Mm.
that chocolate cake. It's just a very good chocolate cake. That's
Ah.
what she calls it. I'm like, keep it simple,
All right.
girl.
You don't need a bunch of fancy. This just
Yes.
let the cake speak for itself.
Right.
You never get tired of blank.
I never get tired of reading. That's so nerdy, but it's so
No,
true.
I just would love a week, maybe a month. That's all I could do is
Yes.
read. I keep buying books and
Right.
they keep piling up, and I have
Yeah.
before I can read them. Are you proud of yourself?
I say yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
Describe yourself in one word.
Hmm. Ooh, busy.
Mm.
Content.
Content. I love
Yeah.
it. And that is our time.
That was great. That was really painless. I appreciate that.
Good. No, hey, no problem. That's what
Wow.
we're just trying to make friends here.
It's good. My list of heroes just keeps growing. I'm thrilled.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Well, where can people find you on the interwebs and things?
Oh dear. YonaHarvey.com. Trying to be better about keeping that up to date. Sorry. And I think it's the same on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And November 9th, you will be signing at Phantom the Attic in
Yes.
Oakland and Pittsburgh.
That's right.
And any other upcoming appearances that you have?
Not
Not yet.
yet.
But you're going to make sure to keep your website updated to, with
Right.
appearances.
Oh my God. My daughter's like heckling me about my Instagram. I'm like, I don't have any skills in this area.
You should hire her as your social media manager.
Exactly. That's a good idea.
Because I'm sure she's on there anyway.
Oh, she is. She is.
Okay, well, thank you again, Yona, for taking the time, and
Thank you.
I really appreciate getting to know you. And
Right back at you.
excellent, and I will see
Thrilled.
you on the 9th.
All right.
And once again, that guys, thank you for joining me, and you can check out my website, ruggedangel.com. It's not always up to date either. And I'm on Twitter at @the_rugged angel. And you can find past episodes on iTunes and Libsyn under Rugged Angel Productions. Rugged Angel is one word. So remember, whatever you do, do it with passion or not at all.